You go to the kitchen, he follows. You go to the bathroom, he follows. You move to the couch, then the bedroom, then back to wherever you left your coffee. And every single time, without hesitation, he gets up and comes with you, settling in 2 steps away like there's an invisible thread connecting his body to yours. Most people have a name for this. They call it clingy. Some find it annoying. Others laugh about it. And almost everyone at some point has said some version of, "This dog won't give me a single minute to myself." But what if that behavior had nothing to do with clinginess? What if it wasn't separation anxiety, or lack of independence, or your dog just being a little too attached? What if your dog following you into every single room was actually one of the most sophisticated acts of emotional protection one being can offer another? Because something real is happening inside that dynamic. Something that most dog owners walk past every single day without ever stopping to see. And once you understand what's actually driving that behavior, you're going to stop calling it clingy. You're going to start calling it what it really is. Here's the explanation most people settle for. He has separation anxiety. He's too dependent. He just really loves me and can't stand to be apart. And look, none of that is entirely wrong. Dogs are social animals. They bond deeply. Attachment is real. But here's the problem with stopping at that explanation. It keeps the whole story about your dog's needs, about what he can't handle, about what he requires from you. It completely ignores the other direction. What if this behavior isn't primarily about what your dog needs from you, but about what your dog has noticed you need from him? Because here's what most people never stop to consider. Your dog doesn't follow you into every room when you're fine. When your energy is light, when the day is easy, when you're moving through the house with purpose and calm, he's often perfectly content to stay put, to keep sleeping, to not bother getting up at all. But on the heavy days, he's right there. Every room, every move, every time. That's not anxiety. That's awareness. And the difference between those two things changes everything about what's actually happening between you and your dog every single day. Your dog isn't following you because he can't be without you. He's following you because he's paying attention in a way that most people in your life simply aren't. Think about what it actually feels like to be truly alone. Not alone in the sense of having an empty house, but alone in the emotional sense. That quiet isolation your mind creates when anxiety starts building, when a heavy mood settles in, when the world feels too large and you feel too small to exist inside it comfortably. In those moments, the brain isn't looking for a conversation. It isn't looking for advice or solutions or someone to fix anything. It's looking for something much more primitive than that. It needs one simple signal: I am not completely adrift. And that is exactly what your dog is giving you every time he follows you into another room. He doesn't need to understand what you're feeling. He doesn't need to know the name of what's happening inside your head. What he does instead is something more precise. He reads the shift. The change in your energy, your pace, the way you're breathing, the way you're carrying your body. He picks up on something in your presence that changes when you're not okay, and he responds with the only language he has: presence. Consistent, quiet, unshakable presence. And here's what most people completely miss about that. There is a real, documented psychological effect that comes from simply never being fully alone in a room. The human brain, especially a brain that's navigating anxiety or depression, operates differently under total isolation. Empty silence amplifies. A room with no living presence in it can accelerate negative thought loops, pull you deeper into the spiral, make the emotional weight feel heavier than it already is. But when there's another living being in that space with you, even silent, Even just lying in the corner not doing anything at all, the equation shifts. Your brain registers something it desperately needs to register. There is life here. There is presence here. There is something anchoring me to this space. For a mind that's struggling, that signal isn't small. That signal is everything. This is why people who live alone and have dogs consistently report lower levels of anxiety than people who live alone without them. Not because something dramatic happens, not because of some big healing moment, but because of the accumulation of small, quiet signals throughout the day, signals that keep telling a vulnerable mind, you are not alone in this room, you are not alone in this moment. You are not alone, and your dog has been sending that signal every single time he gets up to follow you. There's another layer to this that almost nobody talks about, and it has to do with something called micro-connection. Every single time you get up and move to another room, and he follows, there's a small interaction that happens. A glance, a brief touch as he brushes past your leg. Maybe a second where you reach down and run your hand along his back before you continue whatever you were doing. It's nothing dramatic. It doesn't even feel significant in the moment. Most people don't register it at all. But your body does. Each one of those moments triggers a small release of oxytocin, the same neurochemical involved in human bonding, in feelings of safety, in the sense that you are connected to something outside of yourself. It's the same chemical that fires when a mother holds her child, when two people who love each other make eye contact, when you feel genuinely seen by another person. Your dog is activating that same system. Dozens of times a day. Not in one big moment. Not in some dramatic gesture. But in 50 small moments spread across an entire day. Each one quietly recalibrating your emotional state without you ever realizing it's happening. And here's where it gets interesting. The accumulation of those micro moments does something specific to a mind that's struggling. One of the first things that anxiety and depression erode is the sense of continuity. The feeling that there's a thread running through your day, that things connect, that you exist as part of something ongoing, rather than just floating through disconnected hours that don't add up to anything. Your dog, by simply following you from room to room, is rebuilding that thread. Every time he gets up when you get up, he's creating a pattern, a rhythm, a living, breathing structure that moves with you through the day. And your nervous system, even when your conscious mind is too exhausted to notice, registers that rhythm as safety, as consistency, as proof that the day has shape, that you have presence, that your movements matter enough for someone to follow. Think about how rare that actually is. Most people in your life don't track your movements through the day. They don't notice when you shift from one room to another. They don't get up just because you got up. They have their own lives running parallel to yours. And that's normal, that's healthy. But it also means that for most of your day, your presence goes unacknowledged. Your dog acknowledges it every single time. Every room, every move, without fail, without needing a reason. That kind of consistent acknowledgement does something to the human psyche that we don't have great words for. It fills a space that most people don't even realize is empty until something comes along and fills it. So let's slow down for a second. Because this isn't just about your dog. This is also about you. About the kind of day you were having the last time you noticed him following you more closely than usual. About the version of yourself that moves through the house quietly, not really present, going through the motions of a routine while something heavier runs underneath. About the mornings when getting from the bedroom to the kitchen feels like more than it should. When the distance between rooms feels like the distance between who you were and who you're trying to stay. Most people never connect those two things. The weight they're carrying and the dog that won't leave their side. But your dog connected them a long time ago. He learned your patterns before you were aware you had them. He memorized the difference between the way you walk when you're okay and the way you walk when you're not. He knows the version of you that moves with energy and the version that moves like something is pulling from behind. And he made a quiet decision, probably so early in your relationship that neither of you marked the moment, that on the days when that second version shows up, he wasn't going to stay behind. This is where it gets deeper than behavior, because what your dog is doing, without training, without being asked, without any guarantee that you'll even notice, is choosing you, actively, repeatedly, on the exact days when you are the hardest version of yourself to be around, on the days when you have the least to offer, on the days when, if you're being honest, you wouldn't blame anyone for keeping their distance. He doesn't keep his distance, he closes it. And if you've ever gone through a stretch of really difficult days, the kind where the weight doesn't lift, where you're just trying to get through the hours, think about where he was during that time. Think about how many rooms he followed you into. How many times his presence was the only thing in that space that didn't feel like an obligation or a performance or something you had to manage. He was just there. No agenda. No expectations. No expiration on his patience. That's not a small thing to offer another living being. That's actually one of the rarest things one being can offer another. And your dog has been offering it to you, quietly, every single day, in the only way he knows how, by following you. Here's the truth that's been underneath all of this the whole time. You thought he needed you, and maybe he does. But that was never the whole story, because while you were feeding him, caring for him, building your life around his schedule, he was doing something you never asked him to do and never saw coming. He was watching you, learning you, tracking the emotional weather inside your home with a precision that no person in your life has ever matched. And on the days when that weather turned dark, he didn't wait to be called. He just showed up. Think about that for a moment. Every hard day you've had inside that house. Every morning you moved slowly. Every night you sat in silence, with more going on inside than you were showing on the outside. He was there. Same room. Same 2 steps away. Not because the routine demanded it. Not because he was trained to do it, because he chose it. Maybe this was never about your dog needing you to follow his routine. Maybe it was about him knowing, before you did, that you needed someone to follow yours. He never announced it, never asked for credit, never needed you to understand what he was doing in order to keep doing it. He just kept showing up, room after room, day after day, on the good days and the hard ones and all the invisible ones in between. That's not clinginess. That's devotion in its purest form. Next time he follows you into a room, don't brush past it. Just pause for a second. Look at him. Really look at him settling in next to you like there's nowhere else on earth he's supposed to be. Because for him there isn't. Let that land. Because somewhere inside all the ordinary moments of your day, in the middle of the kitchen and the hallway and the quiet corners of your home, something extraordinary has been happening. A being who asks for so little has been offering you something that most humans struggle to give each other. Unconditional presence, uninterrupted attention, a loyalty that doesn't clock out when you're hard to be around. You didn't have to earn it. You didn't have to ask for it. It was never going to be taken away. It was just always going to be there, 2 steps behind you, quiet and steady and completely certain that wherever you were going, that's exactly where he needed to be. So the next time someone calls your dog clingy, just smile. You know something they don't. If this hit close to home, share it with someone who has a dog that follows them everywhere. They need to see this too. And if you want more videos about the real connection between dogs and the humans who love them, You know where to find us. We'll see you in the next one.